Alright, well we're back to the Honda Hobbit rebuild. You can see I've got the engine apart. We'll start with the coils here. Now, you have to get this off to... where the hell am I? Right over here. To get the coil out of there, you need to take off this part, which holds the flywheel on. And in order to do that, you definitely need to get yourself a puller. Get a small one. This is a nice petite one. I think I picked it up for 10 bucks. Brand new over at Princess Auto. You can't go wrong. Sometimes mine was really on there. I had to really crank on it and just keep tapping on the end. Just tap gently, and it eventually just popped right off right here. I did learn a very painful lesson though. On this side, these threads are actually longer. And in here, like on this side, on the other side, there's a hole. Well, if this guy here, the point is not thin enough, small enough to fit down in the hole down to the bottom of your, at the end of the crank, what's going to happen is you're going to split it right down here and widen out the threads. I sort of got lucky in the fact that I caught it soon enough. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I actually cut off the damaged section with the Dremel after it had split, shortened it off, ground it down on an angle, was able to get the nut on there, and there's just enough room to get the nut on to hold the flywheel on. So I got really lucky, because they do give you a little extra beef. But I want you guys to be aware, if this is too thick here, it will split this guy. Even if you're just lightly tapping on it like I was. And that'll give you a headache. So, the other part, that'll fit, these three here will fit here, where was I? Here, and here. It's a tight fit in this one. But if you could see, it hasn't caused a lot of damage, just a little bit on the plastic. Sorry. Bit of a cold. Anyways, and then the clutch on the other side is held on there. Now there's a tool you can get to make that really easy to pop off. The thread's on there, and you just crank it down. It's similar to this idea. It's the same principle. You crank it down, this pops right off. I've seen the tool. I wish I had it. For those of you who don't, what you want to do is come in here, see the clutch, that's the clutch side, nice and dirty. So this sits in here on the crank, and you want to get a screwdriver, and for God's sakes, these are vintage bikes, so lightly, pry a little bit, tap on the crank. That's after you get it split and everything, because you're trying to push the crank through it. Remember, if you don't split it, you're going to push the crank into the other side and damage the other bearing. My bearings aren't too bad. So split it first, get it just down to that, and then tap. Turn it, tap. Just prying lightly on here, and it'll pop off like nothing. You'd be surprised how little it takes. These pieces are for lining up. Here and here, don't lose them. You could substitute another piece of metal, I suppose, but remember, too much metal in here might cause this to crack, so you don't want to use a solid piece. You want to replace it with a piece of tube if you do lose it, because they come flying out at you. These are the crank seals. These are the old ones. They're really stiff. I know they were leaking. I saw it before. Now the thing you want to check for over here on the crank is where they're sitting. You want to make sure there's not a lot of wear, and if there is a bit of wear, that it's nice and smooth. You don't want, see, I don't know who was wrenching on this before, but there's some crease marks outside. There's a good example. I don't know if you can see it or not. Over here there's some wrench marks. Luckily it wasn't in where the valve is, where the seal is. So I'm okay. I've got a new piston. Believe it or not, I'm still buying parts over at the dealership. Yep, that's right. I've got a whole stack of brand new Honda parts. Straight from the dealership, $100 for the whole rebuild. That's not including bearings because I knew mine were fine. Except for the needle bearing on the piston. So, that being said, here's my beautiful head cylinder. Not too bad. I am going to hone it slightly just to smooth it out, get some of the rust out. I'm actually prepping it now for sandblasting. Same with the head. Sorry, this is the head, that's the cylinder. Yeah. I'm going to use a baking soda sandblasting mix for the aluminum. I'm going to go sand on here. I'm going to paint it after. I am going stock 50. There's nothing wrong with that. For down here, to plug this hole, I'm going to turn my piston upside down, the old one, to seal this hole so I can sandblast without having to worry about it. And then I got a brand new piston sitting right there. No problem. Strongly advise a new head gasket. Usually they don't survive too well. Besides, you go through all this trouble, you want to make sure you're never going to have a problem, or it's not likely you'll have a problem for quite a while. So, I think that concludes this. Breaking this apart can be kind of difficult, and if you get some of the gasket stuck on here, I used a knife, cut it off nice thin. Be careful not to gouge. Just carve it off nice and gently. And then afterwards I went over it and sanded it. See, I couldn't get it all off, but I went over and sanded it with some nice, really smooth 400 grit paper. So next, this is going into the booth too. Now I have a makeshift booth I'll have to show you guys. It will be also on my channel. It's pretty neat. It's not a standard booth. It's more of it takes up a lot of room. It's a stand-up hanging chamber. I'll have to show you. Spent a lot of time trying to get that going so I can finish up with this project. Another thing. Okay, well, I'm not done on that yet. And make sure you keep all your bolts organized and off to the side. So this probably be going, the crank will be going in the way it is. Same with the piston. I can't remember what it is, it's late. Piston crank arm. Shit. Anyways, this is staying. Piston rings new. These are okay. My bearings. And that's about it. Oh, and watch for that key when it comes plopping out at you when you pop this guy off. I think that's about it for now. So yeah, baking soda on the aluminum, sand on the metal, just because it is pretty thick on there, and if you want to paint it, make it look pretty, you gotta get it off of there. If you're just doing guerrilla tactics, you wouldn't worry about the sandblasting, but I am trying to make her look pretty again. So, and you want to make sure you avoid grease and oil on these clutch pads as best you can. Don't handle them very much. Pay for it later. So, there you go. So I did get her apart. Same thing here. Trim it off. And the same problem here for the gaskets. So, yep, so that's about it. A lot of the stuff still is available with Honda. Other parts of the bike are not. Rims, spokes, tires, whole complete tires. They used to have a complete wheel set that you could buy, but they're not there anymore. That wasn't that long ago. So someone might have better luck somewhere else in the country. But anyways, oh yep, I bought a hone for this thing. I might as well show you guys. It's a cheap one just to clean her up on the inside a little bit. It's actually a brick cylinder hone. Yes, it is actually that small. Couldn't believe it myself. I'm just tidying up though. I'm not resurfacing or anything. So there you go. That is the Honda project. will update you guys later. Thanks.